Hi everyone, Justine Lizzie here. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I help awakened, sensitive, and empathic souls intuitively navigate this crazy world. One of the ways I do that is that I provide different ways that people that are empathic and again, sensitive or awakened souls, however you want to identify yourself, how we can navigate this world with the gifts that we do have. And if you're not familiar with what an empath is, the best definition I could give is that it is a temperament that absorbs energy very deeply and can feel things very deeply, right? And we usually have gifts. We call them the four clairs: clairsentient, claircognizant, clairaudient, and clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is probably the most popular one that we've heard, but those are our intuitive gifts that we tend to have. People tend to be more dominant in one over the other. But anyway, that's not what the video is about. The video is actually about 3 strategies of how to deal with feelings being invalidated, which is something that a lot of people don't even really kind of notice is happening to them. So let me go ahead and jump into the video and tell you what invalidating a feeling looks like. And so basically, as an empath, we have a lot of feelings, right? And if you know what it's like to suppress a feeling, most of the world, let me just be clear, most of the world suppresses how they feel. It's actually something that, especially Western culture, really, and especially for men, we really push that on people. We say, don't cry, that makes you look weak. People think sensitivity is a weakness, that kind of thing. It is not. That is definitely a false belief. Our sensitivity is our superpower because we need a lot of feelers and healers in this world, because we need to be the change makers, and we need to recognize what is happening in the world and be able to kind of turn it around and move everything to a more loving place instead of a more fearful place, right? Also, suppressing your feelings can make you physically ill. I've seen physical symptoms happen. I've seen mental symptoms happen. It's just not good for you. All feelings want to do is be felt, acknowledged, and released, right? And they can also tell us things, right? So if you walk into a room and you feel a certain type of way about the people in it, that could be an indication that maybe there's an energy vampire in the room, maybe something negative is about to happen, it doesn't feel safe, whatever it is. We need to trust those feelings that really appear and come up. And it's really a good, this is how we can train our intuition, right? That it comes through that channel, that intuitive channel that we all have, by the way. It's just empaths really, really are highly intuitive. And they do have that ability to really feel it easily, but sometimes we don't allow it to happen, right? And that could be really, really bad for an empath, because the worst thing that we can do is suppress our gifts and suppress our feelings, because we are here to it's a gift, it's not a curse. And we are here to change the world in that way, and using these particular gifts. We were given them for a reason, basically, okay? So with all of that being said, invalidating of somebody's feelings is if you say, for example, I'm feeling this certain type of way, that this person does this, and I don't like this, and then the person responds to you by saying, oh, stop being so sensitive, or please get over it, or you shouldn't feel that way. Those are classic invalidating statements from people. Now, a couple of things about this. Number one, they don't, most of the time, the intention behind it is not necessarily negative, which means that they're not intentionally trying to invalidate you. So we should all keep that in mind, right? It's just that we're not taught this, right? People don't really understand that they are invalidating other people's feelings. It is so not good. It's so not appropriate to tell other people how to feel. They are their feelings, and they are allowed to have those. That's the whole point. Everybody's feelings are their own personal truth, and they're allowed to feel what they feel. Most of the time, I forgot what I was going to say for a second, but most of the time, many people invalidate feelings, again, because intentionally they don't understand that they're doing that, and how much damage that's actually causing to them, and how much trauma I actually want to say. I'm going to go as far as to say it's trauma, because trauma is anything that really messes with the central nervous system. So when we're expressing a feeling and we feel really vulnerable and somebody shoots it down, that could be really traumatic, right? Especially as a child, because all of this invalidation comes as a child, right? And basically when people invalidate our feelings, especially our parents, they're teaching us that we're not worthy. Our feelings don't matter. We don't matter. And then we grow up and we have these limiting beliefs and programmed into us, and we have to do so much work to really make sure that we can undo that, right? So it's very, very detrimental, because then we can get into abusive relationships and we can have people treating us like shit and we're not sticking up for ourselves and all of this stuff that can kind of snowball because of stuff like that. The other thing I was going to say is that, again, people are not doing it intentionally. Parents are not doing it intentionally. However, I do notice people that do that are ones that are uncomfortable with their own feelings, right? So it's like this cycle that keeps happening. So basically, people are telling you to get over it because they don't want to sit in it with you. It's too uncomfortable. It's too painful. It's too intense. And because they want to feel good, then your feelings are making them uncomfortable, right? And then a lot of people also, I notice, think it's you blaming them, right? And you say, I feel like this relationship is really toxic, and then they think that you're blaming them, right? A feeling is not blame, and then we have to really kind of separate the two. Our feelings are a part of holding ourselves accountable, and also if it's feelings that are, again, like with that statement, that is pertaining to someone else, this is all about accountability. So blame and accountability are two different things. So there are a few different reasons. And then the last reason, and I don't want to get super into this, but a lot of people invalidate feelings because they might be on the narcissistic personality disorder scale, right, where they have no empathy or very little, right, and they don't care. They just simply don't care. But usually, people are invalidating feelings because they really don't understand what they're doing, and they were actually taught that as a kid, as feelings are bad, feelings are negative, that kind of thing, and expressing them is a no-no. So that's kind of where it comes in, where a lot of empaths are disempowered because we have been taught that way, guys. So it's so important that we move ourselves from a disempowered to an empowered place. Now, we could try to teach people how to validate their feelings, and that would look like, I gave you some examples of what invalidating looks like. Validating would look like words like, phrases like, I understand, I feel you, I hear you, just those simple things. And you see how easy it is? I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. Just saying it over and over again when somebody is venting and speaking about their feelings does everything, because it allows an open space of vulnerability to express how they're feeling. And maybe you might not understand it, and maybe you might not agree with it. It doesn't matter. It's not about you. It's about the person expressing the feelings. So those are validating, right? I think a lot of people really kind of understand that, but if not, that is an example. Very simple, right? 3 words usually. I feel you, I hear you, I see you, okay? Because people want to be heard and seen, right? Okay, so now that that's out there. Now, not all the time people are going to understand that. So as an empath, what do? Do you lock yourself in your studio apartment for the rest of your life? No. We have to be able to be out in the real world and be able to cope, I guess I want to say, with people that are invalidating. So I actually put together 3 separate strategies that I think could be helpful for you when you are in the presence of somebody invalidating your feelings, right? So let's jump into it because I've talked enough. Okay, so number 1, we have deflecting. So if anybody's ever heard of this word, I think people use it as a negative most of the time, but deflecting doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. So deflecting really is not sharing emotionally on your end, and making sure that you're pulling it back to the other person. So if you don't feel like it's a safe space to share your feelings because you're constantly invalidated, it's almost like, is it like putting up a wall? Sort of. But that wall is technically justified because you don't want to, at that particular time, you don't want to let anybody in because you know it's going to be an invalidating experience for you. So deflecting means, and could look like something like somebody asking you how you're doing, you give very little information, and then you ask a question about them, right? So you deflect it right back to them, and without really kind of sharing anything emotionally. This is something I'm an expert at, 100%. And you can be an expert at it too. Now, this works with a lot of people that are on the energy vampire scale. And what I mean by that is like narcissistic personality disorder persons, I guess I could say, will love talking about themselves. So this will be an easy thing to do with narcissists. And by the way, I'm talking about narcissistic personality disorder, not necessarily narcissistic personality, narcissistic traits, right? It's completely different. Okay. It's going to be tougher with somebody that wants an emotional relationship with you that doesn't really understand what they're doing. So this one is going to be really, really tough. It's up to you whether you want to deflect. It is your choice at the end of the day. And again, is it like putting up a wall? Sort of. But you're really just protecting your own feelings as somebody that's empathic, right? And that's okay because they're yours, right? And you can choose what to do with it. I would recommend, guys, I say this all the time, please connect with other like-minded people, other empathic, sensitive souls, to have that community and have somewhere where you can share your feelings openly and where you know that they will be validated. It will mean all of the difference, and that means that when you're deflecting, it won't seem like you're always deflecting, right? Because we do want to express our feelings, right? But we have to make sure that we're doing it in an audience that will validate us, right? Okay, so the second one is an easy one. I don't think I really have to talk about it too much, but it's accept and surrender. I actually have accept and surrender right here on my wrist so I can remember, because it can go for everything, but you need to understand that you can't push everybody to be validating. Again, is this something that I can teach as what I do for a living? Yeah, absolutely. Can therapists teach this? Yes, I hope that they do at the end of the day. But who knows, right? Maybe some don't. But it's not something that we can force on other people. We can't change other people. We can only change ourselves. So what that means is that we can be the most validating people that we possibly can. And by the way, as empaths, sometimes we're in a human body. We forget to validate other people. It's so, so important to keep this in mind, and the change begins with you. So if we can accept and surrender that we can only control ourselves and we can be the most validating people that we know, and by doing that, by the way, we do a ripple effect, right? So that means that when we validate other people's feelings, they'll feel good, and then they'll want to, just by that feeling, want to start doing it to other people without even really consciously knowing that they're changing, right? So it's about planting the seed, and it's really about starting with you. So accepting and surrendering that not everybody's going to understand this, not everybody's going to see why it's so hurtful and traumatic for people, and they're not going to get it, and that's okay. It's not your job to make them get it, and that's something that I have to recognize as well. But it's not your job. It is your job to validate others, okay, when they decide to share something with you, okay? Okay, and the third thing is just understanding, and I'm hoping that so far you've gotten pretty good information about invalidation of feelings and things like that from this video alone, but understanding why people do what they do, and knowing that, I mentioned childhood already. Most of us are taught that our feelings are bad, and that is something that is, it's ingrained in childhood, it will bring it to your adult life, basically. And you have to understand that people come from a background where they were not taught this. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's their responsibility to educate themselves and become a better person and be more emotionally aware and emotionally intelligent, but it's not their fault at the end of the day. So it's important to understand where somebody is coming from. That will make it a little bit easier to understand why people are doing what they're doing. And it'll really help when we have negative feelings towards them or resentment or something along those lines. That would definitely help. But understanding and that type of situation will help you really kind of, I don't want to say it'll help roll off your back like when they are invalidating you, but it'll give you an understanding that will bring compassion, basically. Give compassion for them. So is it annoying? Absolutely, it's annoying. Is it hurtful? Absolutely. But again, go back to what I said in the beginning. Or I said before, is that we should know our audience and really surround ourselves with like-minded people where we can feel like it's a safe space to share emotionally and do it with those people. So that understanding is basically understanding that a lot of people are just not there emotionally, and it's also not your job to bring them there emotionally. You can plant the seed, but at the end of the day, not your job. People will wake up when they are intended to wake up, but for you, you don't necessarily have to share with anyone, okay? These are your feelings. This is your vulnerability. You don't have to share when you don't feel safe, okay? That's something just in general, just kind of sum this all up. They are your feelings, again. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful, guys. Those are 3 strategies that I use when it comes to people that are invalidating, and how to share your feelings in a safe space. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, please put it in the comments. Any comments, questions, concerns. I love dialogue down below. And then if you love this video and want to see more of that stuff, please subscribe to my channel. And I think the subscribe button is here. And I'll put out more videos like this. And also like this video if you do like stuff about empathic, how to, navigate the world as an empath and as a sensitive soul and things like that. Please like my videos so I can know, what kind of content you guys want. Okay, awesome guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, okay? Bye.